Morning, everybody. I know it's unusual, back-to-back days doing a video, but it's one of those things, right? What do? You wake up and you feel like doing it, so I do it. I'll do like I always do. Put the link in the in the chat if anybody wants to go on. But yeah, right. Dreams, are they worth it anymore? Does a 10-year-old kid today have the same dream and chances of success that we did? You see what they've done with education. I'd like to see like a senior exam for, I don't care, chemistry, English, math, whatever, just to see. I'd really like to see, and I know we got subs out there that are good at this, but I'd like to see like a SAT test from like my senior year, 1985, the one I took, and the one they put out now. Wonder what's on them. Wonder what they're doing with them. What does it say? Is it as good? Or is it as hard? Is it as informative? Do you have to have a real knowledge, to pass it? It makes you wonder, right? Because anymore, I think the whole theme, young people in the last, at least 20 years has been, I'm going to be a computer programmer, man. I'm going to write code. Even Build Back Better said, hey, man, come on, man. We can take these felons and teach them to code. We can teach them to code. We can take a roofer. We can teach him to code. Those people are so psychotic. It's just wow. They're just crazy. Just crazy. First one of the day. Let's hope she helps. The politics lately has just gotten wow. So out of hand. I watched a quick congressional video yesterday where I think the guy was from Alaska. He's talking about a judicial nominee. And this lady, by her own admissions, her own writings, is basically a Marxist. She went to Moscow University. She got the Lenin Scholarship Award. She wrote papers, shooting down capitalism, praising socialism, writing thesis on Marxist Lenin successes. And this guy's up there going, I can't believe you people. This woman, she won't answer a single question. We sent her a request back, 2 months ago when she got nominated, and she still hasn't answered them. She's ignoring everything. She doesn't answer questions. And he says, this is how sad it is. He says basically, with the Democrats in control, this radical activist, communist, leftist is going to get nominated to an appeals court. They're going to get it. And it's because you Democrats. You don't care. You don't care. She sits there and states that she wants to change the whole. No, that's what she was going up for. She was going for comptroller of currency. Never heard of this. Well, that's basically the person. I had no idea about this. That's basically the person that runs all the banks in the country, that sends out the policy to the banks. Do we want a Marxist running the banks. I mean, I know. The Rothschilds are bad enough. They're all bad enough. But man, for your public face, for your government to be somebody like that, it's just amazing. And Ted Cruz, he questioned a guy about his policies that when he was in California, they wrote a bill and passed it that was letting all those violent felons out of prison. And so Ted Cruz asked him, he says, was your intent with this legislation to allow rapists who drug their victims out of prison, of people who murder, people who, sex traffickers? He asked him about sex traffickers. And the guy would not even say, oh, no, this bill was never meant to let those kind of people out. No, we wouldn't do that. He wouldn't answer the question. He wouldn't say, no, our intent was not to let these kind of sickos out. We would never do that. It just makes you just cry. If you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So what good are dreams these days, right? What good is having a dream when it does not matter? It just don't matter to these people. It doesn't matter to the long game for you. I couldn't believe it until I really realized it, I guess a week or so ago. Boy, America's really been building the class system for quite a while now. And it's kind of been forced on us. Most people I know, they're merit people. If you're good at what you do, man, go to the top. Nobody's gonna stop you. If you're good at it, go ahead. But nowadays, it seems like there's nobody really good. Standouts in fields that just, wow, you can tell they're the one. They are the one. I found out through my brother trying to hire plumbers helpers, AC mechanics, things like that. He's trying to hire those people. And everyone he hires, golly, they either can't pass the drug test, they won't show up for work, or they show up for work and after the first week they get paid and they don't show back up. They got enough money for, I guess, a week or so and they're good. It's crazy. I feel bad for him. Can't find anybody. And my dad, they've always, if you're good and you know what you're doing and you make them a hand, he pays great. Man, he pays so good. He gives you insurance. He gives you holidays off, vacation paid, all of it. Man, if you are willing and can work, he pays. He pays well. And he has had guys over the years that were with him, 10, 15 years. And those dudes, both of them died. And so over the last 10 years or more, man, he's had so much trouble finding help. Nobody wants to work. They just want their paychecks. It's just sad. It's just sad. I found the same thing in the medical field. We'd have classes of surgical techs come through. And I always had a student with me, and I knew pretty quick they were going to make it or not. They're going to be able to do this. And I had several of them. I just told them, man, this ain't for you. Maybe go to nursing school, radiology tech, something like that. This ain't for you. You ain't got the guts. You just don't. You can't get nervous and be afraid during a surgery. That doesn't work. It does not work. We go through life and, I don't know, what is it? Do we all feel like we're living our dream? Do we? I mean, I don't really think I ever had a sad dream. Oh, of course they have no imagination anymore because it's on a screen, it's on a tablet. that's their imagination. They don't think up that anything anymore. It's all delivered. It's all delivered to them. When it comes to kids and these days, it's weird, but you don't see. And you saw it. You saw it 10 years ago, probably. I know where I was living, you would see it, and it was kind of funny, but it was good. You'd see families riding their bicycles, everybody in a row, the littlest one out front with the training wheels. Everybody had their elbow pads, knee pads, helmet on. They've got a first aid kit with them. But you don't see that anymore. See, that's the thing, Sal. When you're being programmed, you don't have any dreams. You don't have any dreams. They implant those images. I was watching, speaking of dreamers and dreams, people who dream, I was watching the old movie UHF yesterday. I don't know how many of y'all have ever seen it, but it's an old B movie with Weird Al Yankovic in it. But there's lots of other stars in there that people didn't realize unless you watch it. They had a lot of pretty big names in there. But it's on a really good part here. I'm going to share it real quick just for a minute. This is really a good show. Let me move it back just a hair. Right here. This is good. This is funny, guys. You're going to like this. Oh, you might not. Hell, what do I know? I just know I did. I think it's funny. Now, this guy, it's Kramer, and he's in the show. And right now, these guys have kidnapped him, and he's driving them out of their damn minds. This is hilarious.
Hey, you guys! The blindfold fell off. Better come fix it. I didn't need for it. Whoa! And my shirt falls in the car.
Will you shut him up?
Oh, I got it. I got an itch.
I don't want to have to tell you this again. Shut up. You're making us nuts. Now, I got 3 guys out here that would love to cut your tongue out. But I don't want them to do that. I told them it was a couple of hours. This whole thing. So stand. Be nice. Free.
I'll stop it right there. If you haven't watched the movie and you need just a movie without foul language, without sex, without drugs, just a normal show, there's one. There's one right there. But what do you do? All right, what do you do? If y'all don't mind, for a little bit, I think I'm gonna go in and finish some of the second hour.
You apply it to plants because all these people have something called a placebo effect. If they think it's going to work, often it works because the body has the ability to heal itself right from the ether or some such thing. I don't know how it is, like a miracle. You can, if you think yourself well, you can actually do that. So that aside, plants, at least I don't think they do this same placebo effect. If I give them hydrogen and they grow better, I'm thinking that's a good biological benchmark. And the plants that are in soil grow about 3 times faster, and the plants that are in hydroponics, so you're putting the brown gas into the water, a nutrient solution that feeds the plants, grow 10 times faster, 10 times. So strawberry plants, for example, that are barely getting started, only have a few leaves, there's strawberries that are other plants that are getting the brown gas are already producing strawberries. They don't grow any bigger than they would normally. They just grow faster. So I can't really tell you what a lack of hydrogen looks like, except not health, not healthy, things not healing.
There are foods that are considered, this is high in hydrogen. You know, as I'm thinking about it, I pay attention to what I eat, but I don't think I've thought too much about hydrogen up to this point. Are there foods that are hydrogen rich?
That's a really good question. There are foods that doctors feed people to get the hydrogen up in their bloodstream for certain kinds of digestive diagnosis. I don't remember them right off the top of my head, but generally any hydrocarbon, which is most carbs, would have the carbon and hydrogen attached. The only difference is when you're digesting it, you have to have those bacteria to break the hydrogen off. So it's like people are starving to death. They're actually eating great food, but if they don't have the microbiome, which, by the way, going back to the pathogenic theories, you got just as many good things in you as bad things, and your immune system keeps the bad things in check, and then the good things, we wouldn't be able to live without the microbiome on our skin and in our guts and such. I think somebody told me there was like half of us is not us kind of thing.
I've heard more than that. I've seen estimates that show there's very little of us that's actually us, almost to the point where whatever makes you have a mind, you know, is clearly different somehow. But that brings us back to antibiotics, doesn't it? They're so common, and we've had guests on talking about probiotics, and this is not easy because some of the guests who know about these things would say, you got to know what probiotics you need to put back in. You can't just go grab randomly probiotics and ingest that. Do you remember any of the things that John had told us, Jason?
Somewhat. What exactly are we talking about, though?
Well, the probiotics, getting a microbiome back into the gut, because so many of us have taken, you know, probably all of us have, at one point or another, have taken antibiotics.
Oh, sure.
Which the very word means against life, which should tell us something. But the point is, I thought you could just eat antibiotics, but John and some other people told us, no, you have to know, you know, people are unique. You can't just, one probiotic does not fit all.
Right.
That is absolutely correct. And every person's microbiome, there's been studies on that. It's like a fingerprint. You can take a sample of the microbiome and actually identify a specific person because everybody's microbiome is slightly different. But it is very true that certain kinds of, they're doing studies now on microbiome and longevity. And this is a continuation of studies that were done in Japan years ago, where they took people who, families who lived normally over 100 years. They're very obsessed with long life in Japan. And then families that only lived like 50 years or so, and just measured the amount of hydrogen in their breath. And they found that the ones that lived very long time had excess hydrogen in their breath, and the ones that didn't. And they were thinking it's more familial, so it goes in families, which tends to be what people eat and what their microbiomes are. Like you get your microbiome initially from your mother, and the environment as soon as you're born, and then it goes on from there. So if people could get microbiome from the long-lived people, you'd probably have a much better, it's like that cud thing I was talking about before, a much better way of, or microbiome in your intestines.
You know, whenever I see certain words, they make me think certain things. When I see hydrogen, I think of water. And as you were going through, I started thinking about that old, you know, the Greek myth, the teeth of the Hydra are upon you. And I always wondered, because you know there's more there. You know, it's telling you more than you realize. Almost all those myths are. I wonder if there's a direct link in the idea of the Hydra.
That's true. And when you're talking about the old myths, one of the things I wanted to touch on today was actually the Philosopher's Stone and what it can do and how that relates to Brown's gas.
Okay.
If we could get into that a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We've talked about the Philosopher's Stone from time to time here. We've even had some people on who actually might know something about it.
Yes. Well, I don't know a lot about the Philosopher's Stone. I just have read things and seen things in passing. But one of the things that a Philosopher's Stone could do is lengthen life. And that's one of the things that the Brown's gas is being proven to do. In mouse studies, there's 2 mouse studies that had a 30% life extension, and 1 rat study where they actually killed the rats because they just weren't dying, and the study ended, and they had to dispose of them, unfortunately.
Hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore. You got it.
I can't work at a job like that.
yeah. What are you gonna do? Like putting stuff in people's eyes, animals' eyes? I can't even imagine.
No, for me, that's wrong on the face of it, yeah.
And then the things that I've been hearing about how they got the cells necessary for the vaccine trials and stuff. I don't know if you've seen any of that go past your desk, but oh lordy, that's just sickening. Anyway, so I'm fully expecting that I'm in my 60s and I'm thinking I'm maybe only half done with this life. And that would be nice because of the water, the Brown's gas. Now. So we get into new water and deuterium depleted water. Well, first, let's talk about transmutation. So you get longer. Another thing the Philosopher's Stone was supposed to be able to do, or is supposed to be able to do, is transmute materials like lead into gold, for example. And it seems that there's a way to transmute water into any element. And it's astonishing. I've had 2 different ways that it's happened. In my experiments, and one I've duplicated many times, and the other one I'll tell you about first. A fellow by the name of Joseph Bender and another fellow by the name of Norman Wooten experimenting with new water. And new water is when you burn the Brown's gas in a torch, it turns back into water. So you have hydrogen and oxygen combined. The ashes of hydrogen oxygen combustion is H2O, water. So that's new water. That's water that's had its memory erased. And your listeners probably are understanding that there's a lot of things having to do with memory of water and what water memory can do. Anyway, we may get back to that a little bit later. But the new water, what they had was a jug of it, about, let's say, half a quart, in essentially a bottle, like a pop bottle. And they set it on a shelf next to this bottle of mineral water. And I actually have these 2 bottles. They gave them to me after this minute I'm telling you about. And the bottle of mineral water was sitting so that the shadow of it was the sunshine would shine through the bottle of mineral water and onto the new water. And what I theorize is that the new water got imprinted with the information from the mineral water. Now, this was the kind of minerals where you take a small cup and you drink, it's like 50 different minerals to replenish the minerals in your body. But they noticed that there was a precipitate start to happen, a white precipitate in the new water, which was kind of astonishing because there's supposed to be nothing in there but hydrogen and oxygen in a plastic bottle. So they got about 10 ounces of this precipitate out of there, and they took it to a lab and had it analyzed. It turned out that every one of those 50 minerals that was in the mineralized water started to grow in the new water, which was nothing but hydrogen and oxygen. So that was one of the transmutation things.
So one of the ways you might think about this, correct me if I'm wrong, so the sunlight came through, which is a bit like the messenger, through the ether, or however that happens, but all it was bringing was the software, the code, to put it in terms we can think about. And when it reacted with the new water, everything needed to create substance was there, so it reacted on that, what I'm calling code, which actually isn't, that information that came through in the sunlight, through the ether, however that happens, and the water produced those so-called elements?
Yes, the water transmuted into those elements, but the sunlight was giving an additional thing. It wasn't only giving the imprint, it was giving the energy. It was energy as well.
It's crazy, it's crazy that we've come so far away from all these natural ideas. Can you imagine, a hospital that was using any number of the ideas we've covered here, how much better off we'd be? I mean, we started this conversation off the air by commiserating that you're risking your life, or you can be risking your life to go into a hospital right now. It's just insanity.
Correct. And the nice thing about the Brown's gas is that it will eliminate most hospital stays right from the beginning. If you're healthy, you don't need to go to a hospital. If your immune system is strong, you don't get sick. You'd get mild symptoms at most, because everybody gets infected. There's people out there that are so scared that they're going to of a disease. And all they need is a healthy immune system, and it'll take care of it. It's taking care of it for, depending on what timeline you use, but as long as mankind has been around, we've had our immune system taking care of us. And our bodies really do know how to take care of pathogens. And they become what's called endemic. So the pathogens are in us all the time. And again, we get back to the train theory, whereas if we get off balance in our body, metabolism or whatever, then something can take advantage of that and essentially be like flies and start cleaning up the mess of whatever it happens to be. So suddenly you see a bunch of these organisms that are cleaning up a mess, and then they say, well, the organisms caused the mess. No, you were out of balance. You didn't have something your body needed to stay in balance. Anyway, train theory. So getting back to transmutation, the second thing that I discovered was in the electrolyzer itself. And I can't wait until the question you asked, because everybody asks that question, but we'll get to that in just a second. What happens in electrolyzers, Brown's gas electrolyzers in particular, is that a sludge is formed. And again, it's a precipitate. And this precipitate, when we measure it, when we analyze it, has all of the elements of the electrodes. And in this case, we're using stainless steel, so we have our iron and nickel and chromium and things like that that are in the electrodes are in this precipitate. Okay. So to give an example, there's a fellow a chiropractor by the name of Dr. Lloyd Jacob, who used one of our ER1200 water torches to do his patients, to treat his patients. The interesting story of how he was using an ER1200, because originally he built a Brown's gas machine, or had a Brown's gas machine built right from the plans in my Brown's gas book. So so anybody can build an electrolyzer of their own. They don't need to buy one from anywhere. You can get the plans and build your own. Okay. Again, back to, I'm not patenting, I'm teaching. So anyway, he had one built, and then it failed, and the guy who built it for him was out of town, moved away. So he called me in a panic because his clients at this point told him if they couldn't get a Brown's gas treatment at the same time as a chiropractic treatment, they weren't going to come in. It was amazing. So he called, got a machine, got it sent to him. He used it for years. Every year, it would need cleaning of this precipitate that would be in the bottom, this sludge. So we would take the machine apart, clean out all the sludge, put it back together again for him, and send it down. And I saved that sludge. So over a period of 3 years, it turned out that I had 19 pounds of this sludge. And incidentally, purely coincidentally, the plates themselves, the anodes, weighed 19 pounds when it was new. The last time I put the machine together for him, the plates still weighed 19 pounds. So this sludge did not come from the plates. Further, only distilled water was ever put into this machine. It was the original lye mixture and then distilled water. So only H2O was going in, but this sludge was forming at the bottom of the machine. So this 19 pounds of sludge, when we had it analyzed, was the same as the stainless steel. If we'd melted it down, it would have made stainless steel block. So it just appeared out of the water, just from the transmutation. And this has been duplicated not only by myself, but other people who built their own machines.
That's incredible. So basically, I see why you're using the word transmutation, but what blows my mind about that is the water was distilled. The idea that most of us have about distilled water is there's pretty much not that much in it.
That's correct. And when you go back with memory of water and stuff too, distilled water isn't necessarily the best thing to drink. But interestingly enough, water experts who sell the best water in the world, like Truott, for example, and Patrick Flanagan, the late, and the late Bruce Tanio, back in the day, all tested the Brown's gas bubbled water and found it to be the most healthful water by every parameter that they knew. So it was distilled water, but when you bubble it with the Brown's gas, it gains the energy and nutrition and everything that water should have to be equal to, like they were comparing it to Lord's spring water. And all of that is good. So the Brown's gas bubbled distilled water has been what I've drank since 2005, almost exclusively, at least 97% of my intake. I occasionally have a coffee or a tea or something like that, but almost never a pop or any of those sugared carbonated beverages. So although I love them, I just don't do it because.
Right. You're like me. I might take a sip, but I'm not sitting down and drinking a bottle or a can anymore. That's for sure.
Yes.
Pretty interesting stuff, huh, guys? Who knew how much hydrogen means to us? Everybody, like Crow said, he's been for years in a healthcare kick looking for anything to help. And for him to have not run across anything about hydrogen until this guy's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. They are sure suppressing this information. But of everything I've run across so far, other than frequency, this is the only thing that I'm really, really, really considering buying one of them. They're $2,000, but like anything else, I'm sure they have a payment plan where I can end up paying them $2,500, but that's okay. I wonder what would happen. Wow, it just hit me. I'm fixing to get a new water softener put on the house. Wow, wouldn't it be cool to have one of those hooked up to your water coming into your house, that you bathed in it, you cooked with it, washed your dishes with it, made ice with it. Think about that. Ice made with that water. Pretty crazy. I'm really, I mentioned it to Kathy last night, and she was like, but she hadn't seen this program yet either. So I'm going to sit her down and let her watch this. And we're going to talk about getting one of those, because that would be just wow. And that's my goal. If I get one, I'm going to get one that I can put in line for the water into my house. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to check into that, because my God, my health prospects going forward, she's got a 5-level fusion, which she ain't got much more time with that sucker before they're gonna have to go in and put some new screws in and tighten her back down. I've never seen it not happen. She's already been in once and had new screws put in the old one and 2 more levels fused. So our health prospects going forward, there ain't even no pharmaceuticals out there that are gonna help. We know that. And neither one of us are willing to go down that path. So I'm going to approach her from the economic standpoint and go, all right, baby, we try this, and let's see what happens to our prescriptions. Let's see what happens to, her intake of pain medicine. My level of pain and discomfort. That won't hurt. Certainly won't hurt us from what he says. Certainly won't hurt us. Well, guys out there, here in the chat, I put the link in. If anybody's got any show, you got anything you want to talk about, Sugar? I don't know if you saw yesterday's show with Ella from Australia, but man, they are getting hammered over there. That is just sad. I feel so bad for her. We all need to be praying for those people. I can't imagine that. I said yesterday, they're in a situation basically where if it were here, I wouldn't be able to leave Texas and go into Arkansas to go see my grandbaby, because I don't have a passport or the jab. Wow. I could not imagine that. Cannot imagine rolling up Interstate 49 here and getting to that border at Arkansas and there'd be a roadblock there, and then vaccinated in this lane, non-vaccinated in this lane, and it's just a loop around. You just turn back. You ain't going nowhere. Couldn't imagine that. So everybody pray for her. She's being really, really strong and really stoic. But I don't know. I don't know what I would do. You know, what would you do? She said gas was over $6 a gallon. Ew. Jeez. $3 a gallon. I filled up my truck the other day and it was $115. What is it? You know, $6. Huh? I cannot imagine paying $230 to fill up that truck. I just can't imagine it. Oh, and when I went to get that gas the other day, guys, I told Alan this. I get in the truck and I head out, driving down the road, and I look down at the mileage, and it just clicked over to 66,666 miles on my way to get gas. All right. You know, it's got the big 55-gallon tank on it. I can imagine paying $230 fill that thing up. It's just crazy. Somebody help me. Just nuts. But we, you know, if we have dreams these days, I hope they're dreams of the Lord coming back, and, you know, the battle of Gog and Magog getting done. Get this over with, and let's let's end all this. But we all know, just a matter of time. All we can do is stay in that narrow path, guys. That narrow path is it's really, really getting more defined and visible now, is it not? Is it not? It sure is starting to be really, really visible for me. That it's so blatant of right and wrong now that if you choose wrong now, you're just done. Your programming is over. You know, you're just done if you don't understand it by now. Not a lot we can do for you. Unless you find the Lord, then He'll do it. I know everybody that watches mine and Alan's videos will admit all their blessings come from the Lord. They hadn't been responsible for one of them. Oh, funny thing yesterday. My brother calls me, just bitching, pissed off. Your mother. I'm gonna choke your mother. I'm like, nice. Y'all getting along, huh? Well, my mom, a week ago, calls me up there in Ruidoso, New Mexico, at our house up there. And she says, hey, just wanted to ask you something. She says, we got up here and I didn't feel real good. And went to the bathroom. And it was real black. It was real black. She says, then I threw up. And there was some blood. And I'm like, she already had colon cancer 6 years ago. So I'm like, well, pack your stuff and y'all head back home. On the way, call your doctor, tell him what's going on, get in and see him. So they did. She listened. They went home. She went and saw her doctor. They tested her, everything, and there was blood there. And so they give her instructions for the next move. Well, they get home. My brother couldn't go to the appointment, and he calls, well, okay, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. She says, there was some blood in my stool, but I'm fine. And he says, well, what do you mean there was blood, but you're fine? What's next? Yeah. And she's like, well, I'm going to go see my oncologist. And when? And she's like, oh, a couple of days, I think. Not sure. And he's like, wait a minute. We need to get this straight. What's going on? Where are you going? And then she drove him crazy. She just jumped into my cousin's. He just was in a car wreck out there in Big Spring. And he got hit by an 18-wheeler, broke both his legs, broke a bunch of ribs. You know, he's out of the hospital now. This is a month or so ago. And she just bails right in talking about him. Well, you know, Caleb, he's out of the hospital. And he's like, no, back. Where are you going? When do you got doctor's appointments or anything? And so he calls me just right now. Oh my God, what are we going to do with them? What are we going to do? And I said, dude, forever I was the one there going over and seeing them and taking care of that. You know, welcome to the game. So you're going to have to go. Somebody's going to have to go to those appointments. And so my mother, forever, and it's funny, she's one of those people that she's not alcoholic. She had never been drunk. Once or twice that I can ever remember. A little tipsy drunk, but not slobbering drunk. But she drinks 2 or 3 glasses of whiskey and Coke every day. Well, I told her, I said, you gotta quit doing that. You got a bleeding ulcer in your stomach. You gotta quit drinking whiskey. She said, no, I can still have one. No, you can't, Mom. I just got to avoid spicy foods. And Mom, you don't eat enough right now as it is, let alone spicy foods. And it's just, well, pray for them. We're going out there on Thanksgiving, and we're going to have all the stuff together to take over power of attorney, medical and financial powers of attorney, and start taking care of their stuff for them. It's a tough time. You know what they always say, you know, your parents start out taking care of you, changing your diapers, feeding you, doing everything for you. And then in the end, it's the reverse roles. And, you know, the Bible tells us, honor your father and your mother. Got to take care of them. Not going to put them in a home. I won't do that. I'll go out there and move in and live with them and take care of them before I do that. Been in too many of those homes. Not going to have that. Hell, my dad would probably get kicked out in the first week anyway. He's such a dick. Even without dementia, he was always an asshole. He was. I know what y'all are thinking. Well, you talk about your dad like that. He was an asshole, man. What a jerk. He used to piss me off dealing with customers. Used to piss me off dealing with customers, man. Customer would walk in, he'd sit at his desk, and they'd be like, hello, and he'd just look at him. Hey. He wouldn't even ask, what do you want? They'd be like, do you have? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Well, my air conditioner, how do you know that's what's wrong? Just, what an asshole. You know, people come in and they couldn't get 2 words out of their mouth. They'd be, what, hold on. What are you talking about? I'd just be like, let the man talk. It's funny. It's funny, but God bless him. He did the best he could. Hell, he produced me. I know that's nothing to brag about, that's for sure. Well, guys, we've been at it 43 minutes here. Just wanted to hit everybody up, say hey again. Day 2 after my injection. Still no better. Didn't get any relief. Woke up this morning hurting about as bad as I have in quite a while. But, you know, what do you do? I can't quit. It's my burden. I did something to deserve this. I don't know what, but I did. And everybody, y'all know what I always say. Look at. Hey, girl, I'm telling you, my whole life, it sure did. I had such a great visual live performance of how not to treat people. If I'd come out being like him, that's my fault. But I noticed early in my life, when I first started even driving, he would get upset if I let somebody pull in a spot and I go find another one. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I don't have that spot. Well, it's an older lady, man. We can walk. You know, let somebody in traffic. What are you doing? It took your spot. My spot. We'll get there. I ain't worried about it. That he's terrible like that. Oh my God. Man, if you were sitting somewhere trying to get in traffic and he come up, he is not gonna let you in. You better not be looking in his cab for him to give you the wave on. It ain't happening. You know, just one of those guys, man. One of those guys. God bless him. I love him. He's my old man. But is flat Earth a cult? What is a cult? That was mine. I don't know how many of y'all have it, but I'll plug for old Dave Weiss. Is the Flat Earth Sun and Moon app. Do y'all have one of those? I got it. It's not much. I think it's like $12 a year, and it's got everything on it. Got everything. It's even got texting. You can text people. It's got this. Let me pull this up. The Friend Finder app. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but those blue dots, I'm the red one. And those are the blue dots of flat earthers, at least ones that have signed up for the app. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 admitted flat earthers within 50 miles of me. We met one guy. We met one guy, and he came over and we talked and visited, and nice guy, real nice guy. I think he went on and watched a couple of Alan shows. Patrick is his name. He went on and watched a couple of Alan shows, and it was kind of weird that the whole thing with Noah was kind of bubbling up at that time, and he just boom bugged out. I texted him about a week or two ago. How's it going, bud? You know, want to come over? Want to go meet at Chili's again? Get together? I'm busy now. And now can't do it. So okay, well, holler at us when you're free. You know us. We're just chilling. And hadn't heard anything from him. Nice guy. Don't know what happened. Because when we laid flat Earth and premillennialism on the guy, blew his mind. The guy was saying, I don't know how many times he went, wait a minute, man, you guys are blowing my mind, man. Hang on. I got to grasp this. What are you talking about? Nice guy. I hate that. I may text him up again today. Tell him we're praying for him. I hope he's finding his way. He was one of those guys in transition. He'd been a cop all his life. After talking to him, he was a good cop. He was one of those guys that he talked about 2 or 3 times. There were other cops that were pulled some shady shit, and he stood up against them. So he said, you got to hope the guy wouldn't lie about that. Because I don't know about y'all, but Alan does not like the police. My son-in-law's a cop, and he's a jerk. Man, what an asshole. I doubt he ever watches the stream, but if he sees it, he knows I say it to his face. So don't worry about that. But the family, the Bible tells us how to live, tells us what to do. We don't need society and rules and regulations and privileges, rights and privileges. We don't need that stuff. We've got our Constitution in the 66 books. We don't need all this. But I guess that's it. I ain't got much else to say. Get this day going. Ain't heard Alan get up and move around yet. But thanks, guys. Anybody and everybody that watches. Love y'all. Discernment. Good vibrations.